busy week of qualification matches for the Euro 96 has already got underway, with Portugal taking on Austria in Lisbon in the Alvalade Stadium, which is the home of Sporting. Plenty of Lisbon-based players in the Portuguese lineup, and for Austria they included Otto Konrad, the controversial Salzburg keeper, who comes in for Franz Wolfhardt, himself suspended after an incident with a referee in a recent league game. Well, Portugal in their green shorts and red shirts, not surprisingly, made the fast start, playing from right to left in the first 45 minutes, and Austria's chances were limited. Pinto here setting up Oceano to put in a cross from the right, which created the first real chance of the game. But unfortunately for Portugal, Pinto couldn't finish it off. Again, Austria were forced to defend in numbers, and Herbert Prosaska's side had really come here looking to try and salvage some form of a point after a really disappointing start to the qualification, which included a home defeat in their last game by Northern Ireland. Meanwhile, Portugal have won their first two games, and particularly impressive when getting a result in Belfast. They knew that if they could beat Austria, they'd be setting themselves up for one of the two possible places in qualification from this group. Well, certainly it was always going to be a tight and interesting game, and the first controversial incident came when Portugal were avoided a penalty. This is Pinto. Now, Polster and Schottel went in. The referee from Denmark, Peter Michelson, deciding it was Polster's foul and giving the opportunity to Oceano. So Otto Konrad, the Austrian keeper, who himself has been very much the figure of controversy already this season with the now infamous incident in Milan, forced to try and save a penalty kick as Oceano stepped up. Konrad was well beaten, but so was Oceano as he drove his shot powerfully against the crossbar. The keeper had gone the wrong way, the goal was open, and Oceano's spot kick would have given Portugal the lead. But all credit to the Portuguese side for continuing to press forward. Really, this was a very disappointing display from the Austrians, and Antonio Oliveira must have been delighted with the precise finish of Figo after a great through ball by Pinto. This was a great goal, make no mistake about it. He kept his cool and his nerve. Konrad had very little chance with a quality finish that sent the 40,000 who'd come out to cheer on their locals and national heroes delighted, of course. It was a wonderful move, this. Pinto to Figo, 3 strides. Konrad no chance. 1-0 Portugal after 37 minutes. Well, the only disappointing thing from a Portuguese point of view is that they didn't really go on from this and create more opportunities and more goals. In the end, they were reduced to just the one, and the game was slightly tainted by a sending off. And really, when you see it again, there was no doubt that he had to go. Peter Stoger for the second bookable offence. Really little he could do to complain here on Paulo Sousa. We do get a very tight replay. You can see it was a deliberate kick after the ball had gone. He might have complained, but I'm sure when he sees this again, watch him closely. Number 10 coming in. Well, there's no need for that, and he had to be booked. He'd already had a yellow card, so the red immediately followed. And so Portugal had done enough to beat Austria, even though that there were one or two nervy moments towards the end. The Austrians very rarely looked like they'd get anything from this match, and so Portugal make it 3 out of 3. And for both Irish managers, who of course have other things on their mind when the two sides from Ireland clash in Belfast on Wednesday, this was a result they didn't want to see. Portugal 1, Austria 0. Well, there's the weekend programme. Northern Ireland against Eire, and that's the one other result this weekend. Here's the goals from Ukraine against Estonia. Kiev, the venue, 29 minutes gone, and Sergei Konovalov here with a brilliant individual weaving goal and a fantastic finish in freezing conditions. And the cameramen braved the action, and the second goal coming right on half-time. Litovakos' cross, and Uramakis with an own goal, turning it behind his keeper. One further goal to come, and it came 14 minutes from time. Timilav Gurselov finishing decisively. It's cold for both teams, but Ukraine got their first win of the group. Estonia's chance to qualify.
A very colourful setting in this stadium here. The Poles playing at home in front of a crowd, I think, expecting something special from the side tonight. A game billed by the French as almost the last chance for them. They've gone into this game with two scoreless draws behind them. Very much concerned, and a great debate about the team as to where Eric Cantona should play most effectively in the side. He was brought back into midfield in the game against Romania. It was not expected to have the kind of result it did have. It was rather negative. He himself played very well, but the French would like to see him playing further forward, and that great duo of Cantona and Papin is something of a fading memory now, and the French team very much changed from the one which was beaten right at the end of the very final game of the World qualifying group against Bulgaria. Indeed, that is the last time that France scored an official goal, way back in November, the goal by Eric Cantona. The Polish team, well, they're suffering, like many of the Eastern teams, from having that export of players, which is essential given the economies, and they have only 3 players based at home. Vanzik there comes from Panathinaikos, of course. Wyszkowski plays in Poland. Sierosowski there for Saint-Etienne. Thomas Walduch, of course, for Bochum in the German leagues. A team packed full of players who are doing very well for the clubs, ranging from Sporting Lisbon, Atletico Madrid, Panathinaikos, Saint-Etienne and Udinese. A cosmopolitan look to the Poles indeed. The referee tonight, Signor Amendolia from Italy. And a testing time for both coaches, especially Jacquet from France, who's been criticized for his last 2 team selections. And France finding it very difficult to put the ball in the net. They played some excellent football in the last game they played against Romania. Couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And one of the biggest sinners, the man you'll see playing tonight with the number 9 jersey, Nicolas Wiedek from Nantes, the leading goal scorer in France at the moment, and it was leading goal scorer a season ago. He had terrible misses. He was asked to be dropped, but the coach has kept faith in him. Ball played forward there by Paul Le Guen. And there's the man I'm talking about, Nicolas Wiedek, going away out to the side, and 2 players coming up front. Obviously a key player in midfield for the French tonight will be Marcel Desailly, hoping he recreates that marvellous game he had in the European Cup final against Barcelona. Played there by AC Milan and played very effectively when that far side Kuzminski. And I think the Poles have already shown they've got great pace, and a man there French will have to watch, Juskowiak up from number 9 for Poland. Juskowiak playing his football for Sporting Lisbon. Nice little break. Balazinski. And across goes Bernard Dammer. Takes that very well indeed. And on a night where the ball must be extremely slippery, they've had a lot of rain, and you can see from the pitch there, it is very badly churned up. Now watch that inviting ball, and look at Juskowiak coming in. I think he was slightly off that. That was a deceptive angle. Not just as near to the ball as appeared from behind the goal. Little warning to the French, though. The Poles are basically a counter-attacking team that play based on solid work in midfield, good passing, good control, good possession. And then the sudden burst by Kozecki, the captain of the side from Atletico Madrid, and Juskowiak. The Iberian threat in both these players. Kuzminski brought that forward. This is the man I was talking about, Kozecki, the captain. Put back by Juskowiak. And up came Krzyzewski. Very strong running player. Lashed that in there. That is Mark Krzyzewski. His brother Peter plays for Saint Etienne. You'll watch him in this game. He's got number 7. Now Kobiak. And given the condition of the pitch, I think it's going to be extremely difficult to put passes together with any great accuracy. Pedros. And there again, coming in from the outside, Cantona, wearing the band of captain. And by the way, he banned any interviews with the press the day before this game. The press didn't like it, but I think he wanted to exert his own personality and therefore some discipline into the side. The French taking it deadly serious. Thomas Valdock at the back giving some instructions. Valdock playing his football in Germany. Almost a youngster in this side at the age of 23. Swept away in there by Wiedek. Most unfortunate. Whipped off the line by Jaskolski. And France's leading goal scorer desperately unlucky there. And Gloma puts that forward. And I think a little bit of a nudge on the edge of the box. Free kick. Fiery, tempestuous player. Doesn't have all that many caps for his country, curiously enough. There he is, feeding it to the outside, ex-Marseille player, Pedros. That was Wiedek again. Taken away there by Jaskulski. Well, the Poles had a very fiery start, but I think the French now beginning to control midfield. And accuracy in passing will be of the essence tonight. The ball skidding away from players if it's hit in front of them. And it is rather churned up in places. Now this is the counter-attack style of football I was talking about that the Poles favor. Just tucked to the head. That's a great chance now. Oh, and the captain could have put the Poles ahead and really ought to have. For no apparent reason, Kosecki, who has been scoring goals for Atletico Madrid in the Spanish First Division, lost his composure. Watch that. An unfortunate slip by the defender. Played forward by Jaskulski. Now away goes Wiedek. Got away from his marker very well, and I think you've just seen the weakness in his play that was exhibited when he played against Romania. Able to work himself into scoring positions like this. And really that was only slapping at the ball. A finish there lacking conviction. And of course he's probably living in the shadow of Papa. And a very long shadow that is. The man who's scored so many records for both France and his club Marseille. And I think Pedros is badly hot here in that challenge with Swieczewski. Neatly put back there by Kuzminski. Again the break, and really, and Gloma caught very badly out of position there, Dimeco rather. A huge gap appearing on the left. Well, there's Pedros. I don't think he'll take any further part in the game. It's been a very tense game right from the start. That's Jasser's back coming on, number 16. Referee he's been very much in control of this game. And I think the French must be reasonably pleased. They've carved up some openings. Wiedek has got forward away from markers. But the Poles like this, dangerous in the break. There's the captain again. And I'm not quite sure whether that was a shot or a cross. But he is getting freedom. We saw him go beyond D'Amico on the right. This time getting away from Angloma. Angloma now playing this football in Italy. What a fine game he's having, Kosecki. Wasicha underneath it. And he was really hampered by that French defense getting back very quickly indeed. And look at the great challenge there by Blanc. Dugarry on, and I think Wiedek used an arm there, but the referee waves play on. The advantage with the Poles. Getting that spot on the far side. And they really are disturbing that defense on the left-hand side. That run by Balajinski. Balajinski from Gore. The halftime score 0-0. Certainly France in the second half, defending very stoutly, breaking away occasionally. Undoubtedly, the Poles could have been 2 up after that first 45 minutes. But history is littered with memories of teams who failed based on that phrase, could have been. That's up in the air by Valdoch. Away there by the substitute back. Down there and away to the side. In came Cantona. Dugarry fighting in that shot. And the Poles may yet regret the missed chances. Certainly France have not had as many as this, but Cantona just a little bit too much to the side. Van Zyk and the Polish goal hasn't been tested as much as Bernard Lammer. And this game is rather bogged down at the moment, almost as if they were being afflicted by the condition of the pitch. That looks like a free kick, and it looks like the man who's already been booked, and that's a disaster. Christian Karambou. He has to go off his second yellow card. And let me remind you that Karambou, the player you see making that rather reckless tackle, was one of 3 players sent off in a French Cup final for Nantes against Paris Saint-Germain a couple of seasons ago, so he's rather familiar with an early bath, let's put it that way. I mean, why in no man's land like that had they to make such late tackles? And that recklessness comes from lack of skill, actually, because I think tackling at the right moment is part of the skill of the game. And all he does is commit suicide. Off he goes. France down to 10 men. I'm not quite sure the Poles can take advantage of that, because as that ball was fired in there by Szuszewski, I doubt if they can take advantage of it, because the Poles tend to play the same kind of way all the time. Even if they were playing against 8 men, they're deep into their mentality as a counter-attack. And France will now try to crowd midfield. Would be very dangerous for them to defend on the edge of the 18-yard line. Just make the occasional breaks. And screaming for the ball was De Gary there. Once again, Wiedek got away there. Emi Jacquet, the coach, can't be all that happy now having to face such a long spell. Headed forward by Jaskowiak. Oh! Just swept away. And once again, Josewski coming in a net. Supported there by Kosecki. Nice little header there by Jaskowiak, who, remember, was a star of the Olympics. Well, the French defense have been very well organized in this very difficult situation they find themselves in. Desailly well away with it. Knitting together well in midfield. Swept away out by Desailly, picked up here by Le Guen. He turns very well. And running towards him there again was Wiedek. I think the French are right to play it away out wide. For a start, the pitch is in better condition out there. They might make some progress. What we haven't seen is Eric D'Amico making one of his runs in this half. Still remains no scoring. And that's what the French are doing. They're crowding in midfield as the rain continually goes down, and I think it's making it miserable for everybody, including a Polish crowd who I have to say got behind the team early on, giving them unstinted verbal backing, but now it's beginning to peter out. Except now, a little break. Bust again by Kosecki. And he can't get away from the marker again, just put off. What marvellous runs he's had in both halves. And I think the Poles might get. Bernard Lamer getting close to his 50th cap. Just a couple away from that. Flamboyant personality, apart from being a very steady goalkeeper. Here's Jaskulski. At the back there, Schwarzewski. Played down the side by his brother, Peter. Picked up. Kosecki with it. Not far away. Muttering either to the deity, or was it an imprecation? That was Vazica. Watch the two of them coming in. A kind of decoy run by Jaskowiak there, not quite getting it. A little inclination of the head by Vazica. And although the play has been bogged down in midfield, every now and again the Poles have been able to liberate themselves from it and make moves like that. And now we're having the referee, I think, as Nikola Wiedek comes off there. Wiedek, I think, disappointed in his game. There's no doubt about it that he's had a lot of... Hesitating there. I think that was meant for Cantona to run into. Jakob with it. Gets it way to the corner, but the Poles are working very well indeed. Jakob with a little bit of freedom. And a long, long shot there by Laurent Blanc. Now away goes Jaskulski. There's space in midfield. And a quick tackle there Alan Roche coming in. So here comes Dariusz Gesio, number 14. Against 10 men, to say the least, and getting nothing out of it if it ends as it looks as if it might. Well, a little bit fortunate that Jozewski got away with that. Kozeki, this is one of his runs again. Little bit of space on the far side to Balazinski. I think that typifies the night. Well, they've both sides have built up moves, and then suddenly, in positions like these, the finishing has been horrendous, to say the least. Well, he's nicely set up there. And I think the presence of Roche and Blanc descending on him. 1-2, but away goes Juskowiak. Been very well marked tonight. He was always going to be very dangerous. Juskowiak trying to get into the box again, but Lama. All he had to do was keep his eyes open. And the trouble with the Poles now is they are a little predictable. Certainly the crowd still staying behind Poland. It remains no scoring so far, and the French must be worrying about the goals drying up. They're heading for the third game in a row, unable to score a goal. That, I think, is a free kick. Solid player. Long future in front of him, only 23. Hammered away by Laurent Blanc. Now looking for the quick break. Cantona shielding it well. Hasn't done very much in this game tonight, Cantona. And the break there by Ngloma. Just a little bit too much. Time petering out. Just look at that field now. Parts of it like a mud heap. And there's where they might make some progress down the rather drier wings. Eric D'Amico there. As I said, playing a much more negative game in the second half. Perhaps not surprisingly, with the French down to 10 men. Back. On to Jozewski. Picked up on that far side by his brother again. Handling. Oh, free kick given. One of the better players on the field tonight, there's no doubt about it, Kozeki. Away goes D'Amico. Little curl on that ball, easily dealt with by Waldoch. Well, they're not currently setting the world alight, either team, even though they're looking at somewhat bonfire there, picked up by Juskowiak. Wants to go himself, that's not a bad move. Juskowiak, could he win it? Flicked away brilliantly by Ngloma. Oh, just touched away there again from Gesio. And almost into stoppage time, and away goes Cantona. He's running out of support, surrounded by white jerseys, and he lacked people coming on either side of him there. And that, I think, will be a free kick. The Polish coach, Apostel, absolutely blazing there. And there it goes. That little controversy there, I think people thought it might have been a free kick. It's the end of the game, and it could have been won. Right there in stoppage time, that brilliant run by Juskowiak. Beckett came out again, and watch this interception again. Gessiola was lying handy, and that's great defending, just swept away there. And so, 3 games in a row for France without scoring a goal, and indeed 3 goalless draws. They still stand a chance of qualifying, but it's going to be extremely difficult for them. That was the first clearance by Angloma. The next one was by Alain Roche. And the result could have been worse. So, 25 years ago, the French went 4 games without scoring a goal.
Czechoslovakia come to Rotterdam to take on Holland in what's a fascinating battle in the European Championship qualifier. A game in which Holland will start as favourites, but the history books say that they far from a good against Holland, who've made a late change, and they'll give a debut to Yuri Mulder from Schalke tonight. There's the Holland lineup with perhaps Patrick Kluivert from Ajax, unlucky not to get a game in the full starting lineup. He's on the bench because Ronald de Boer has got an injury. It's a back injury, and so he misses out. There's the Dutch formation. They'll start by playing 3-4-3. Mulder in the centre with Van Vossen, who's having an excellent season with Ajax, and Gaston Taument, the Feyenoord player, on the right. Winter, Witschke, Jong and Roy in midfield, and Yuri Mulder making his Dutch debut. He becomes the 4th father and son combination to play for Holland. It's his first cap this evening, playing in Germany. His father Jan Mulder, now a journalist, and there's Dick Advocaat. Now there's more than speculation as we get underway that Advocaat could well be on his way to PSV when closely scrutinised on the subject earlier in the week. He was far from decisive in his answer. Well, Dutch football fans need no reminding that Czechoslovakia were the team that Johan Cruyff, the great Johan Cruyff, made his debut at, as Taument makes an early attack on Pavel Srnicek, the Newcastle United keeper. He's up to it. Taument has scored that decisive goal against Saudi Arabia with the header late on in the World Cup. As I was saying, it was Czechoslovakia in 1966 that Cruyff made his debut, and it was an extraordinary affair really, because he actually got sent off in the game and ended up with a year ban that was reduced on appeal to 6 months. And when you think how he graced the orange jersey of Holland after that, memories go back to that clash in 1966. So Holland then in the orange shirts and white shorts, attacking the goal away to our right here in the coup. And the first foul from Robbie Witschke. There is Mulder being closely marked here by Miroslav Kadlec, who plays his football in Kaiserslautern and is experienced with 42 caps for the Czech Republic. Here's Srnicek trying to master his defence. Holland, who began by getting some goals away in Luxembourg, it's hit the bar. It's Jonk and Frank de Boer who went up for that. And Mulder, on his debut, was only inches away. The free kick floated in, and well, Roy to take the corner. It's rather a wasted one, and this is Poborski, not the only player to be a surprise inclusion. Thomas Skuravi, incidentally, didn't come because he had an argument with Dusan Juran, the Czech Republic coach, about the training, so he was a late absentee, which really left the position open to Horst Segal, who plays for Sparta Prague and has that scoring record of 5 in 8. So a free kick to Holland, who'll be looking to go one better than their away trip to Norway, who incidentally have won this evening by 4 goals to 0. against Belarus, a team that they struggle to beat at home. Tries to implore to his team the significance here of getting a result. Scoreless draw, of course, would suit the Czechs far more in their last qualification match against Norway at home. It was 0-0, so that's a result that can often be important. I think the key that in these groups in international football is not to concede a goal early. Here's Latal, and it's a fair run. Radoslav Latal also plays for Schalke. There are 3 players from the German club on the field here. Yuri Nemec, Radoslav Latal, and Yuri Mulder. Here's Ed de Goey, here's Taumen in his home stadium. De Goey, Vichka and Taumen, the 3 Feyenoord players in the starting lineup. And put out of play by Wim Jonk. Holland have already beaten Czechoslovakia 3 times in 10 attempts then. So they'll realise that this is no pushover. Roy was trying to cover, and in the end that was Kubik. Here's Vinta. Roy was caught out there. This is Nemec. Latal. And Vaux, who's now back at PSV, having spent some time at Sporting Lisbon. Away goes Vinta. It's a fair run from Aaron Vinta. Still no goals here in Rotterdam. Away goes Nemec. He's been very industrious so far in these opening 15 minutes. Vinta. Roy, having a fine season in England with Nottingham Forest, making a big impression. Nemec out to Podborski. And back to Ed de Goey. It's been a very scrappy opening here to this European Championship qualifier. Both sides know that with this 3 points for a win, the incentive to attack is far greater than in previous years. 15 gone. We still await the first goal. Jonk goes in, but good play there by Radoslav Hapal. And Vichka came across and sacrifices putting the ball out of play. Crowd of 40,000, and Peter van Vossem really enjoying his football and scoring some spectacular goals for Ajax. 2 in the last month stand out in league games against PSV and Willem II, both away. This is Seagal. The ball not properly cleared. A header across the face of the goal and punched by de Goey. It had to be Nemec. Ooh, that wasn't far away. Yuri Nemec got the shot in, and that was very close. Well, we'll see just how close from behind the goal. I think it was under a foot for sure as Nemec struck it. Oh. Stan Vaux, 14th international tonight, and he really has struggled in the last few games for PSV. Not settled backs, Taument. Well, it was Pavel Kuka who gets a yellow card for the challenge. And picking up a yellow card then for the foul. Tauent, the player brought down. Dangerous situation. Roy and Jonk will work it between them. And Jonk to take it, floats it in. They're queuing up at the far post. Vaux! Not far away either. Stan Vaux yet to score for Holland. But he was in the centre here as the header across came from Frank de Boer. Right, it was the right idea to try and place it. It just didn't come off. Now Vaux defending. You look at this Holland team and compare it with the World Cup side, and there are noticeable absentees. Marco Overmars, Ronald de Boer, Dennis Bergkamp, Ronald Koeman, Jan Wouters and Frank Rijkaard. So you are talking about a complete restructure here. Overmars and Bergkamp would of course be in if they're fit. Roy here in with a chance. He's dragged it down well. Still Roy. And again Roy. Looks for Taument. It's bypassed Mulder. Van Vossem. So unlucky because he'd done everything right there. And Dennis Bergkamp from Inter, all out through injury. Koeman, Wouters and Rijkaard have retired from the international scene. I can tell you, both Koeman and Rijkaard are having excellent seasons domestically for Barcelona and Ajax, and Wouters isn't doing so bad at PSV. Radoslav Lataulen sacrifices another corner. Frank de Boer makes a run. He doesn't get there. It's headed wide. And Winter, who got that second goal against Brazil, the one that gave the Dutch so much hope when they made it 2-2, only for Romario to end the dream. Hapau wins the throw. Winter looks for Roy. Brian Roy's in here. Good save, Srnicek. Well, Roy so close to breaking the deadlock. Two players there from the English FA Premiership in action. Roy from Nottingham Forest, Srnicek from Newcastle. Here's Jonk. Peter Van Vossem. Cover from Poborski. Jonk again. They're a neat defensive unit. The Czechs, half an hour gone, and they've really held out well. We haven't seen so much in attack apart from that effort from Yuri Nemec, but they are coming on the counter now, and that was Vichka making sure of the corner. Excellent defensive play from Robbie Vichka. He still must rue the penalty he missed in the drawn game with Malta. How important that particular miss might prove to be when we work out the final analysis. Going to be a yellow card here for Brian Roy, I think. He's smiling at Sandor Pool, but the World Cup final referee, the Hungarian, wasn't going to fall for that one, and Brian Roy goes into the notebook. It was a late challenge on Poborski. And Dusan Yurin must be pleased with the way his side have fought in this first 45 minutes. Still Holland 0, the Czech Republic 0. This is Roy. The ball forward, looking for Mulder and looking for the return. Mulder's first touch there let him down. Here's Jonk. This is Van Vossem. Jonk again. Oh, that's a good effort! A very good effort indeed. Wim Jonk, who scored 6 times for Holland, and most of them have come from outside the penalty area. 2 spring to mind against Ireland and, of course, against Saudi Arabia in the World Cup. And what a way to finish the first half that would have been from Wim Jonk, who formerly played for Ajax, is now playing for Inter Milan. Jonk again. Little shot over the bar this time from Peter Van Vossem. Well, he's managed 7 international goals, and this could have been 8. It was a little chip. It was a special effort indeed, and it was only just over. So into stoppage time then, at the end of what's been a pretty scrappy first 45 minutes. Still no goals, remember. As away goes Winter from Taument's ball through. Mulder was the player they looked for. Bilek. the top scorer in this Czech Republic team, came across, but it's half-time and Dick Advocaat will have plenty to say. Substitutions at half-time. I would think the Czech Republic side, coached by Dusan Jurin, will be far happier with the position. No goals at half-time. Holland giving a debut tonight for Yuri Mulder, son of Jan Mulder, who is a former Dutch international. Remember that Holland have won away in Luxembourg and drawn away 1-1 with Norway. Other result in the group, just to remind you, was Belarus 0, Norway 4. So that'll be a big boost to Egil Olsen's side's goal difference. Here's Mulder, here's Brian Roy, great opportunity, Brian Roy for Holland. Pavel Srnicek made the save. Roy, who has found the net on 8 previous occasions in his 28 Dutch appearances, didn't really get the power or the accuracy here. After Mulder found him, and he showed great awareness to go inside Radoslav Hapal, but couldn't beat Srnicek. Srnicek put under a bit of pressure. Brian Roy doesn't go fully through, but here's Jonk for Holland. This is Mulder. Nice turn inside. He seemed to have slipped Cadillac, and another opportunity there for Brian Roy. Well, Mulder floated it in, and Roy was hungry, and he got the header. It wasn't so far wide. Advocaat, who wasn't meant to be in charge of Holland when they went to the USA, but got the job almost by default when everybody expected Johan Cruyff to take it. Another mistake by Srnicek. This time the little chip can't do him, and Jonk was aware of exactly what was going on there. He just didn't get the height. Srnicek must have been a little nervous, one would have thought. Van Vossen tried to trap it. Sandor Pool got a touch, the Hungarian World Cup final referee. Here's Frank de Boer coming across with Kubin. And the free kick given. He was rather fortunate there, Frank de Boer. It looked, if anything, as though he was doing a lot of the holding. This is Jonk. Danny Blintz. 1 goal for Holland. What an excellent season he's having as well for Ajax, who take on Milan in the UEFA Champions League next week. We'll have the rest of action of that for you in our UEFA Champions League special next Thursday night at 11:30 Central European time, 10:30 in the UK. Here's Peter Van Vossen. He'll be involved in that one as well for Ajax, who look good for a place in the last 8. Away goes Valks. Now, can he find a quality cross? Mulder was what he was looking for. Roy was another. And Van Vossen was coming in on the far side, but Danny Blind goes in again. Jonk. Now, we all know how dangerous it is from this range. Will he try a shot himself? And this time he passes out to Taumet. Now, Stukelparak is the cover. Taumet forced to go backwards and find Winter. Aaron Winter for Holland. Little through ball, it's going nowhere. Lateral young hope of Holland, Patrick Kluivert, who there were rumours was attracting interest from both Milan and Juventus. And I wonder whether Dick Advocaat is going to make a substitution as a yellow card goes to Stukelparak. Well, he went sliding in on Taumet, and he can't have really expected anything else. So Patrick Kluivert, who's top scorer in Dutch football at the moment with 10 goals. What an international debut he could make here, with the obvious switch being with Mulder, who's not had the best of games as Roy's brought down. Also on the bench here, Arthur Newman. But it's a free kick. As Kubik really barged into Roy, and it was David against Goliath there. Little against large, and Brian Roy coming off the worst of it. Now, there's no Koeman, of course. It's almost the identical spot. Koeman found the net against England in that World Cup qualifier. Remember, it went into the top left-hand corner. Now, Yong could be the favourite here. Yong takes it! Takes a deflection as well. I think one thing that I've noticed, having been in this stadium a few times this season, the atmosphere is so much better now. They've let spectators sit in the seats directly behind the goal. They've completely revamped the Feyenoord Stadium here, and it's now got a roof on. Those of you who are familiar with it will always remember that if you came here, you prayed it didn't rain because there were very few seats under cover. That's not the case now, and the atmosphere is more of a theatre of dreams for the Dutch than they've had in previous years. And I'm told on fairly good authority that it'll either be this stadium or the new one that they build in Amsterdam, which should be completed in 2 years' time, that will be a host for the final of the Euro Champs in the year 2000. As that was a little run from Oborski. That incidentally will be now officially confirmed a joint competition with Belgium and Holland. 2 points to note on it. I think that both sides won't have to pre-qualify, which will mean that they'll miss out on all the qualification matches, which England are doing at the moment. And that the opening game will be in Belgium and the final will be in Holland. A great chance here! And so close for Pavel Kuka. And he certainly had a ground for complaint that this was a back pass. Well, let's see it again. Radoslav Hapal went away, lost his man, and it was Kuka, number 9, who came in. Now, was this a back pass? Well, for me, Vaux is lucky to get away with that. There would have been no intention to have put it into his own net, so he shouldn't have been allowed to pick it up. That was an interpretation of the rules that Sandor Poel didn't make. Great turn from Van Vossem. Now still Van Vossem, and it's gone out for a corner. Cadillac came across. Now Kluivert. Is he going to replace Mulder? That would be the obvious choice. Van Vossem, well, he could be another candidate. As Yonk takes the corner, and there's a scramble. And De Boer, who came up. Well, we played 70 minutes, so in fairness, if he is going to make a change, he's got to make it soon. There, it almost came off the shoulder. And it is Mulder who comes off. So, from one debut player to another. And you don't often see this. You can hear the reaction from the Dutch crowd for the introduction of Patrick Kluivert, a youngster making a massive impression. And he grabbed a couple of goals in Ajax's last game against Groningen away from home. That's the Ajax Stadium, in fact, when they came from behind to beat Groningen last week 3-1. They were losing until the 78th minute, and Kluivert got 2. Well, how he could enhance his value even more with a goal here in the last 20 minutes. Taument, it's a great run from Taument. Kluivert, here's a chance. Kluivert! Ooh. And he knows it. Serious opportunity here. Taument doing ever so well. And Kluivert, he could have made all the headlines here. He trapped it well enough. And all credit to the defender for narrowing the angle, but Cadillac trying to put him off. As the Czech team make a substitution. Samek coming on for Kuka. But it's really, I think, only time wasting. The second sub they've made. We're into stoppage time. Sandor Poel Not certain how much stoppage time he wants to add on here. Down goes Samek. So Bilek to take the free kick there, queuing up in the centre. Great opportunity. It's a free attempt really for them in stoppage time as it's floated in, and the header comes in. Oh! Tegui has to tip it over, and it's Samek. What a dream start that would have been. Well, Bilek floats it in. Now, was it Samek who got the final touch? It was, and that was definitely saved, tipped over. Two minutes of stoppage time now. 47 gone in this second half. And Van Vossem, has he kept it in? Oh, good play from Van Vossem. It's still Van Vossem, and the crowd were suddenly very excited by that. Sandor Pool checks again with the linesman. I don't think there's too much time to go. Is there one more chance for Holland? No, that's it. The final whistle goes. It's finished scoreless here in Rotterdam. Wim Jonk, one of the more experienced players, knows that
the very impressive Anderlecht Stadium hoping for an impressive result by the home side Belgium tonight against one of the newer nations, Macedonia. And there is Paul van Hems, the very famous player and now the coach of Belgium, who has welded together a very impressive side. One remembers that team, that Belgian side, playing in that remarkable last game of the World Cup against Germany. And we have, of course, 5 survivors of that particular team: Prudhomme, Smits, Stylens, Van der Els, and Luc Nielisch. Nielisch taken off in that game, by the way, that last game, but of course finding it very difficult to score goals at international level, even though when he was in Belgian football he was frequently the top scorer. Nielisch now with PSV in Dutch football. They're the substitutes, and on paper, of course, Belgium really should win this game, but Macedonia, nevertheless, have come through and played impressively in their very first game against Denmark, drawing by 1-1. And there is a team, it's an experienced team as well in terms of age, as you can tell from that. They play all around Europe. Stankovic, that player at the top there with Degerfors in Sweden, all the way down to Charleroi, Janevski, down to Mishevsky, who's playing at home in Skopje, Javoski with Servette, and Javoski, Milko Javoski, the other Javoski, plays for Nîmes. The trainer Donchevsky. The pitch in absolutely perfect condition for this very important match. Belgium started off the tournament very well by beating Armenia 2-0. Well, that was to be expected. And then came a cropper when they went to Denmark and lost by 3-1. So there is decided determination tonight from the Red Devils. That famous nickname for a team that's performed especially well for such a small nation in terms of population, performed extremely well at world level, especially in the World Cups. And I think Paul van Hems still bitterly regretting the decision of Herr Roethlisberger, the Swiss referee, in turning down a penalty kick. And there, Zaleski from Macedonia right in the action, turning down that famous incident when Joseph Weber was going through, was brought down and no penalty awarded, and it distinctly was. So a lot of scores to settle, and wishing to make an impression. On it goes now to Nielisch. Almost picks that up. And Macedonia showing very early nerves in this game. Off the foot of Janevski there. Dragged down to the left side. And Nielisch beaten by the goalkeeper. Belgium always playing very solid football. Sometimes a little bit mechanical, lacking a little bit of flair, and that easily picked up and sent away to the outside. Mark de Vries was coming back to give support. Nielisch was there. That's inviting, and into the box. For the first time in the game comes Lorenzo Stylens, the very experienced Bruges player, and I think we'll see him doing that a great deal in this game. I mean, that is his forte. All of a sudden, he materializes in the penalty area, nicely curved away from the goalkeeper, which is a kind of ball you need for that occasion. Jeannot, the new cap from Stade Liège. Oh, this defense, very nervous indeed. Stylens again. And now he's showing his maturity. I think he's spotted the weakness right in the middle of that defense, and now is continually going to probe it. Watch him coming into the back. Good balance there, but the goalkeeper a little bit unsure as to how to cope with it, but at least he had angled it off. Picked up by Van der Elst, Frankie Van der Elst. 66 years, would you believe, if you add Stylens and Van der Elst's ages together. Greatly experienced in midfield, and there he is again. And obviously Paul Van Hims has told the mustachioed Lorenzo Stylens just to get. Well, at this stage, a lot of pressure, but they're lacking the kind of subtlety as again Nielisch comes in. They're lacking the subtlety of an Enzo Schifo. And just every now and again, the Macedonians breaking forward, but the defense is looking, oh, right off the bar. And that's it. The opening goal. Behind coming right in. Swing that ball away off the crossbar. And then rattled across the goal there by Nielisch. And spotted extremely well. The Bruges player behind coming up. He had to stretch just that little bit. Well, that was coming at an absolutely vital time there. 31 minutes gone, and the pressure really on. Right on the goal line this time, but this goalkeeper who really has been busy, Selesky. Scooping it up. At the back, Janeski. Plays in Belgian football, and now they're really putting on a style. It's de Vries trying to get it through. De Vries again. A little bit annoyed with himself. From this angle, I'm not quite sure how far that was off. But watch his eyes on the ball. Just maybe a little bit unfortunate the way the ball bounced in front of him. Rudy Smits coming up, the FC Antwerp player, back though to Frankie Van der Elst. These are the two men. All the play coming through either Stylens or Van der Elst. They're high in the goal scorer. Nielisch. That's better play. It's as extraordinary that this man has scored so much in club football. Over 130 league goals in 6 seasons for Anderlecht, and yet he didn't score his first international goal until last June. Did very well to get away from his marker, made that little opening for himself. Oh. Well, sometimes goalkeepers are absent-minded. Interchanging a lot now, trying to vary the style as Krasen picked it up. Tried to link in there, coming Van der Elst. And there's the two Bruges men getting in again, and that was a very intelligent header back there. Janevski. Under intense pressure. That's all he could do. That was the mistake that was originally made. Well, I think that came off foot, actually. From the back, it looked like a header in there. I think it's a commendable performance by Macedonia in defense. They've hardly had that one break, and it came at a very crucial time, just about 15 minutes before half-time. They'll feel better. So much pressure at the old classic problem of a team facing visitors who've decided to come and stubbornly defend and try and snatch a draw. Well, it hasn't quite worked for Macedonia, but they have been impressive in defense. I think that goal coming when the Belgians were beginning to get extremely frustrated in the second half, going something of the same pattern. Ball played out here, though, to Jovanovski. Oh, Prudhomme, a terrible mistake. Can it be caught? No. Rudy Smits lying in agony. Well, well, well. Michel Prudhomme, who had a brilliant World Cup. The goalkeeper of the World Cup, no less. And look, the kind of mistake an amateur would make on a village green. The scholar there, Boskovski, but almost a gift by the Belgian goalkeeper. Now playing his football, of course, with Benfica. That's quite extraordinary. What went through his head? Now this has happened to other goalkeepers this season already. That was that half-hearted attempt to sort of palm the ball. And so, one each. While the Belgians can hardly believe this. It has been their ball throughout this game. They've tried moves like this, switching the play. But more often than not, they've been pushed across the field like that. They've lacked direct penetration, Stylens. And there's the shot by Nilis. Well, what happens, of course, is that you get the likes of Nilis and Stylens interchanging. It's either one coming in to penetrate in the box. That time it was Stylens laying it back there to the PSV. Rike by Jozowski. And this time I think there's a tad of ironic cheers there as that ball was gripped by Prudhomme for this. Slightly unsighted, I bet you he was glad to see that in his hands. Well, there we are. Sometimes statistics don't tell the whole story, but certainly Belgium have had possession in the Macedonian half, and that's where it really counts. Still one each, though. Nilis. Well, I have to say that was an anguished, frustrated, and entirely predictable effort by a very experienced player. Neatly flicked forward by Danny Beaufort, who'd come into the action on the left. Certainly the crowd trying to get behind them again as Zaleski just gets his hand to that. Chased across there by Jovanovski, one of the Skopje players coming from the capital. At the back, Geno. Geno has come forward a lot, but his crosses have been rather poor. There he is again, chasing after it. Standard Liège player, Nilis, looking for the 1-2, Stylens. Squares to Nilis. And so many players in the box, and I think appeals for a penalty. And that was a kind of afterthought gesture there as two of their players go down, including number 2, Stanjukovic, the man who's... Well, they can't give the ball away at this. Boskovski chased in there by Jurovski. And every now and again, that little flutter of anxiety as they play the ball just in behind the defenders. And the one thing that Rudy Smits does have is great pace. And if you're pushing forward, the one man you really do want to have in defense is somebody who's very fast. And that's why Smits is invaluable in that situation. Pushing forward leaves tremendous gaps at the back. This will be taken by Machevsky. No cover at the edge of the penalty area. Away there by Krason. Hooked in again by Stankovic. Too far. And this is so typical of many games we see, especially early on in either a European club or a national competition, when a team is pushing forward, expected to win, and then they have that anxiety about the sudden break of the back. Now they've got some very fast players. That's why Rudy Smits is very important now. Valem comes off. De Beer. Krason puts it wide. Geno again. A little bit obvious, that ball. I think they lack variety. And this is where Schifo would have been invaluable. Also, Philippe Albert was declared unfit only yesterday. Both of these players in the stand watching this, and I'll bet they're kicking every ball. Geno. This time Van der Elst. If there's any ball in midfield, Van der Elst will pick it up. The ball coming to him like iron filings to a magnet at times. Smits, no real drive in that. And continuous pressure, broken there by that fall by Boskovski. Time running out. The Belgians expected a win, will be disappointed if they don't get it. That's the substitute. De Beeld. Nicely on there by De Gries. And nobody in the middle. De Beeld, the substitute, was far too wide. Tries it again. Well, I think entitled to go for it himself. I think he's been watched out there. Look how crowded that is, and that will be a free kick. No question about that. The Macedonian players thinking that was embellished. Well, there's no need to protest. The referee has come right in and out. The Russian referee, Mr. Kusanov. Oh, now, that's very revealing. That was a dive. I must say, from the midway line, looking down at that, it looked a certain free kick. And so we get the benefit of slow motion replay. The referee doesn't have that. And this is where they really will miss Schifo. Nieliš shapes to take it. Schifo is deadly from this distance. Back goes that defensive line. Makovsky, Janevski, Jazdowski right in the middle. Nieliš. Up it goes, and nowhere near the target. I think some of the better free kick players would hit wood if it didn't actually go in. While the spectators have died 1,000 deaths as Belgium have poured attack after attack. There it goes now to Danny Boffin. Danny Boffin. And if Macedonia pull this off, there will be jubilation and also some worries about this section and other quarters. It's a very important section with Spain, Denmark and Belgium. The three likeliest to go through, two of that three. But if there are mishaps like this against Macedonia at home, Belgium may yet rue it bitterly. Nieliš finding it very difficult against that congested defensive setup there. One of these games in which I think the Belgians might be thinking. Remember, they've got that draw against Denmark as well. Stabbed forward there by the substitute Dragan Kanakolovsky. And I think that cameraman in that little pan there, that quick pan, was looking for the coach of Macedonia, who I think will be absolutely delighted and showing it right at the end if they can hold on. Now Belgium, last gasp. Nieliš well covered, whipped away by Jazdowski. And how frustrating for a team that had so much possession, distinct chances, so much work near the goal in there. That is the scene the cameraman had prepared to get. A jubilant little bunch from Macedonia. There's the support in the background. And we must remember they come from a good footballing heritage as part of the former Yugoslavia. They proved it tonight. The final.
France and Poland finishes 0-0. The French having drawn 0-0 in Group 2. Spain led 1-0 from Nadal at half-time. Donato and Luis Enrique adding second-half goals. The big shock there was Macedonia home draw in Italy 1, Croatia 2. Davor Suker, Leon Artsen, Lars Bohinen and Jetio Rektau getting the goals. Latvia winning 1-0 in Liechtenstein. Of Kirsten getting the goals for Germany, who win in Albania. 2 more for Hristo Stoichkov in what Wales 0. Group 8. Scotland drawing 1-1 with Russia. Scott Booth. Group 8. Russia.
One great hero in this game, the Brazilian-born Donato Gama da Silva. Watch this shot from him, by the way, and watch Schmeichel. Right away, you thought he might have touched it. Well, he did. Flush on the face. Difficult to recover from him. The ball put up there and in to score his first goal in 18 games, Nadal. And the Barcelona defender watched as that ball was hammered in by Donato Gama. A little bauble there, mistake it would seem by the Danish goalkeeper. And Denmark got 2 goals down. Now Luis Enrique making it 3. Delighted with himself, a comprehensive victory. And one wonders what that stunning blow in the face of Schmeichel might have done to his judgment eventually. The pressure was going on, the ball was in the back of the net again. This time Donato putting it in, and Boquero getting the ball as it was put into the penalty area. The final score, though, was to be 3-0. Watching a little piece of history as that goal was struck in there in 7 minutes by Sotiru, because Cyprus had only once previously won a European qualifying game. So, at that stage, early on, 1 up after 7 minutes, the omens looked particularly good. Cyprus, along with Malta, perhaps, always considered the kind of Mediterranean chopping blocks. But there were some very good moments in this game for them. And Armenia playing mostly defensively as Pasiliotis wriggled his way through, and with the gentlest of toe pokes, almost on the final whistle, made it 2-0. Might have been a little deflection. The Cypriots didn't mind. And for the second time in 25 years, they had attained a victory, 2-0. There are the standings. And
Lausanne, the venue for Switzerland against Iceland in Group 3. And this match was to be decided by 1 goal right on the stroke of half-time. What a goal it turned out to be in a moment of madness that led to the free kick after Switzerland had many opportunities to break through the deadlock. Well, Iceland themselves are to prove one of the stronger dark horses in this group, and certainly the Swiss were expecting to use their superior experience, and certainly with players like Alain Suter involved, and also the header coming in from Marco Grassi. But eventually Arno Gresteson conceded a free kick in a dangerous position, and he was to pay the penalty with this excellent strike from Bickel. Right on half-time, Thomas Bickel, after the layoff by Suter, really giving Berkir Christensen no chance and breaking the deadlock for the Swiss. into the second half, and Iceland showed that they're no slouches. Their best opportunities coming to Arno Gunnarsson, but Switzerland should have made it more decisive. Only the bar saving Iceland this time from Christoph Orell. Then Suter again, so close. It was the stanchion that saved. A spectacular effort from their player of the match. Final score, Switzerland 1, Iceland 0. The other results, Sweden 2, Hungary 0. Goals. A dramatic night, to put it mildly, in Palmero. First with the news that the Croatians had changed their coach. Blažević leaving and Tomas Ivić taking charge for the evening. Not even he can have imagined the sort of scenes that we had here in Palermo as the Italians, who failed to qualify for the 1992 European Championships in Sweden, were here conceding an early goal. One has to say that Padluka was largely responsible, but who could believe that Davor Suker would be on the score sheet again? That now is 7 goals in 7 games. And on the hour, Suker kept his nerve as well to get a second goal from the corner. Igor Stimac here with a fierce shot across the goal, and Suker with the simplest of headers past Padluka. 8 in 7 now for Suker, and Italy on their way to their 6th defeat under Arrigo Sacchi in 34 matches. Roberto Baggio, playing his first match since the World Cup finals, could do nothing about his side's dramatic problems here, and it was only in injury time that the Italians managed to find the net. Dino Baggio, who scored so many important goals for Italy, heading home, but it was too little, too late, and Italy lost at home in a competitive international for the first time in 11 years since they lost to Sweden, and this result leaves them in real trouble in a bid to qualify for Euro 96. There's plenty of work left. That goal coming in the 4th minute of injury time then. Croatia make it 3 out of 3, and Ivić is dramatic on eve of appointment. Certainly worked wonders as Croatia.
Norway and Belarus, and certainly a journey they should not have relished, given a look back to what happened to them in Norway when 2 minutes from time, Frigard, the substitute, scored the only goal of the game. That gave them a great fright, and they can't really have anticipated a pleasant trip to this republic, part of the splintering of the former Soviet Union. But we've seen around Europe the emergence of nations who can play very well. They have a good tradition of football, perhaps not as strong as the others like the Ukraine and Georgia, but nevertheless full of talent in their side, and they showed a very stubborn defence when they played in that game in Oslo. As I said, Norway winning only by 1-0. The points that have come Belarus's way have been in beating Luxembourg by 2-0. But quite clearly, Norway in the red and black shorts here will find it difficult to get any smooth transition on this pitch, which is cutting up very badly to start off with. Ball played inside there. Jonsson picking it up, Ronnie Jonsson. And there's the goalkeeper, Valery Shantarasov. And any ball skidding just in front of him, I think, will take off as if jet-propelled. It's very skiddy out there. The side of Yuri Antonovic, and of course the Norwegian players have a very strong English accent. There were no fewer than 13 of the World Cup squad based in England. Gunnar Halle, the Oldham player, putting that back to Mikland. That's number 7, Eric Mikland, transferred this week to Utrecht in the Danish First Division. And is getting all very tight in midfield as this pitch is beginning to chew up. Good run, or intended run, by Jakimovic. Out to Sukhanov. Sukhanov back to Jakimovic. Well, a disappointing end there. You could see the player at the bottom of the screen there screaming for the ball. He was in the clear. That was Mikael Markel. Norway playing rather tentatively at this stage. And they obviously have come here with the very maximum of respect. But even though the spectators really protect themselves very well, so also is this Belarus defense. And will it be watertight? Well, we're going to be tested now. Micklin with the free kick in a very interesting place indeed. Interesting little player, buzzed about in the World Cup, of course. Looks like Bjornby is coming up to take this, gone back to Norway, of course, from English football. Nice little touch there by Micklin, who's hovering in midfield. Picked up there by Gerasimets. Oh, I like this run. Good control. Just takes it a little too far, though. Well, that does indicate the quality that they have here. Just lacked a little bit of support. I think where they look a little bit suspect is in coming forward and leaving the spaces at the back. I think Norway may yet exploit this. Leonhardsen. Well, I must say, Valery Shantilosov, under very difficult conditions indeed, has dealt with this rather well, perhaps even better than the photographers. Well, that wasn't very clever. Micklin with it. And they're making heavy weather of this. Well, that wasn't really intended to be a metaphor, but you can see that they are toiling. They're toiling in defense in particular. They've had these occasional breaks away. The problem, of course, is they haven't scored with them, and this Norwegian pressure is becoming more and more incessant. Nicely judged, coming in at the back. That's it. Beautifully struck in there. A goal by Berg. 34 minutes gone. And that ball coming off the back of a head right across the goal. And Henning Berg, the Blackburn player, who cost the English club a mere £400,000, which is peanuts compared to some of the money they've dished out for players. In he comes. Thank you very much. Free kick there by Jakubovic. Little bit of a pressure now. They realize they've got to get numbers forward here. One goal down. And for the first time in the game, putting this defense under pressure there. Stig Inge Bjornby. Very powerful looking customer altogether. Well, was that a free kick? Down went Yuri Antonovic. Got the Norwegian message very solidly. Well, I wouldn't fancy the laundry bill. I don't think the Belarus economy is going to stand it. Nice little run there and a free kick, I'm sure. No, the referee waving play on as Leonhardsen tried to go forward. Oh, that's off the post. It must be in the second one. Leonhardsen coming right through. 2 goals in 5 minutes. Well, good opportunistic goals, both of them we've now seen. Good drives forward, and Leonhardsen takes the credit himself for having chipped that away forward. Bang, out it comes, and driving in. There we are, 2-0. Leonhardsen, you may recollect, if you're English viewers, for that goal he scored at Wembley. Difficult to see the numbers out there now. In comes Markel. And almost did damage to that very expensive investment of advertising hoarding behind a goal. Just watch it. First it looked as if it came off the post or the stanchion at the back. And now the pitch is beginning to resemble the Thames estuary at low tide. Ball neatly put through as Boynan took after it. And I think Belarus will find it very difficult to come back on this. Gunnar Somebody's pinched the ball. Thank you very much, sir. Got it back now, and Gunnar he broke his leg against Sheffield Wednesday, made a marvellous recovery a couple of years ago. Well, that sock with the goalkeeper's made the mistake, and it's put away. Boynan makes it 3-0. Well, if you're watching down Nottingham Way, you'll be delighted to see your man's in form, the Forest player. Again, I have to remind English viewers, perhaps painfully, he did score as well in that famous 2-0 victory against England in the World Cup. And there he was there, the goalkeeper, Shantalasov, making a mess of that. That's neatly scooped away. Not too happy, is he? The coach, Sergei Borovsky. Well, coaches are very rarely happy. Very hard to please bunch. Gurachinov, I think, about to come on. What good he'll do at this stage, I'm not at all sure. Well, they'll play these appalling conditions very well, Norway. Just play to the strengths. Well, that's what they always do in any case. Is that a penalty kick? Well, he doesn't look as if he's going to get it, and now he does, yes. The jury went out on that, and the verdict is guilty. Penalty. Let's watch this again. A relatively dry area of the ground, but the tackle quite illegal. Rekdal, 8 minutes from the end, and Belarus are now buried. Who would be a goalkeeper in conditions like these? Wrong-footed, he's wet through, and he's conceded 4 goals. Apart from that, the world is going well for him. Looked like a free kick to me. And from almost Passchendaele-like mud, can Norway add another one? They've done the job efficiently, professionally. There's Rekdal in amongst it. Looks like a little boy who's wearing an artificial beard. It's more than that, though. Goalkeeper Valery Shantalasov watching this very closely, and so he might. Will he scoop it up? He does. And away off the side of the foot, though. Yes, he got nowhere near that at all. The game is reaching its conclusion, and Belarus have been taught a lesson. They played very well, and I think all of us taught a lesson that some of these nations actually play more effectively away from home than they do in their own stadiums. When they're playing at home, they've got to push forward and try and do something for the crowd, and they're punished as a result. They're better away from home. I think these statistics, but they overcame that.
See the venue for the latest trip for Wales, this time to Georgia, determined to avoid embarrassment like they did on their last trip away when they lost amazingly 3-2 to Moldova. Well, it's remarkable to think that a year ago Wales were within 1 spot kick of reaching the World Cup finals when they had the opportunity, had they beaten Romania to do so. But here in Tbilisi, they were run all around the park by a Georgia side who simply were inspired. Kinkladze here having the best of the early opportunity against a Wales side clearly missing some of their star players, notably Ryan Giggs, but not really able to utilise the full pace and power, their strike force of Ian Rush and Mark Hughes. And Neville Southall, certainly by his standards, not having one of his better afternoons. When it was all Georgia in the white who created the majority of the early play, and certainly Wales, who'd lost to Moldova, who were ranked 124 in the world, couldn't afford to slip up here against Georgia. In fact, the Welsh did manage to create one or two chances, and the best of them falling here to Mark Hughes after a fine run down the right-hand side from Rush. It was just fortunate that Hughes didn't get there first. His reaction told the story, one of the few chances that Wales managed to create, and the ball went out of play for a corner. The defender did well. As the cross came in, Hughes so close. But all credit to Rebic-Levy to put it out for a corner kick. Well, the longer the game went on before we had the opening goal, the more you felt that this might end up by being a scoreless match. But that was hardly the way it turned out. And when the scoring was eventually opened, it was a fine goal. And you've got to give credit here to Tima Kitshaba. But Neville South will be very disappointing with his positioning. Kitshaba here curling the shot in, and despite the attempts by the defence to clear it, Georgia had managed their first goal in the qualification group. The reaction of the players told its own story, and Alexandra Shivadze, remember him, the sweeper from the 1982 World Cup with that great Russian side. He played in all the matches, and he's guiding Georgia at the moment, and what a dream start for them here. Timur Kichbaya opening the scoring on the half hour, and it was a goal that the Welsh defence will look long and hard at. Number 2 here, Nielsen, failed to cut it out, and when it came to Kichbaya, he picked his spot, and Neville Southall will be disappointed he didn't get a hand to that one. So Georgia in front then after 31 minutes. Well, this is a huge stadium in Tbilisi. There was a crowd of 45,000, and there were plenty of open spaces on the terracing. But the Georgians in the white shirts and black shorts continued to attack, and once again it was Kachbaya who was involved in most of the play, and here taking a nasty tackle from Nielsen, and it was an injury that was to cause him major problems and was in fact to put him out of the match. Kachbaya thought that he would be able to continue, and in fact he was, but only after a lengthy interruption. He was helped off the field, but did come back after half-time. But temporarily they were down to 10 men, and were so for a full 5 minutes. Well, despite the fact they were a man short, they did manage to increase the lead. Only 2 minutes later, Kinkladze embarrassing Southall once again to add a second. And Georgia here with real hopes of registering a rare win. Again, mass celebrations from the Georgians. The Welsh defence cut open, and really there was no marking here, and Southall was fully exposed as Kinkladze slipped it under him. Despite the fact that Chris Coleman was running back, he could do little to divert the action. So 2-0 at half-time, and Wales fared little better in the second half, despite the fact that they brought on Kit Simons of Portsmouth into the play to replace Nielsen. It was the Georgian side who swept forward once again. Another exposed piece defending, but this time a quite majestic finish from Kechbaza, whose half-time treatment had worked wonders. 3-0 to Georgia and 49 minutes play. Well, goals are rare in the Georgian soccer history scrapbook, but wherever they keep their archive material, they'll want this one. It was a wonderful finish from Kechbaya. Kept his cool and his nerve, but Neville Southall will be disappointed it looped behind him and into the net. And so a disastrous hour for Wales was completed when Georgia made it 4. Again, the right-hand side was fully exposed, and the curling shot first hit the post. Then the build-up play, which was developed over on the far side by Abladze, who'd seen very little. Here he is now setting him up, and Goliciani with a cheeky finish, making it 4-0 to Georgia after 59 minutes. Well, all credit to Arbaladze, but Giorgiani here with the little chip over Southall and into the corner. A sweet goal for Georgia, one that was treated with dismay by the Welsh manager Mike Smith. Well, the scoring wasn't completed because just 7 minutes later, another Georgia attack was to embarrass the Welsh defence. Here now on the end of their biggest defeat since their 1953 Paris reverse by the French. And again, it was persistence that paid off here for Abaladze, as he made it 5-0 to Georgia, a result that was to shock the rest of Europe. The Georgian supporters had come here hoping for a more encouraging performance from their side, certainly not expecting anything like this. Wales thrash, Georgia 5, Wales 0. And Germany were made to fight all the way by Albania in Tirana. Group 8, and Athens the venue for Greece against San Marino. And one of the most spectacular goals of the week here coming from Nikos Maklas after 21 minutes. No wonder Pierluigi Benedettini looked bemused by that one. Maklas produced something out of nothing. When you see it again, it's the sort of goal you dream of after Benedettini did well to block the initial shot. Maklas back to goal, despite the fact there were two covering defenders, acrobatically beat them both. Certainly Mauro Valentini, number 5, and Luca Gobi, number 10, could have done nothing about that. It was a fine Greek goal. Tastas putting Poulistaris away, and Maklas beating Benedettini with a fabulous goal. Well, certainly they know how to celebrate in Greece, and the play was disrupted for 2.5 minutes as the firework display got out of hand. One does wonder, with the current fines being dished out, whether the Greeks will go into the notebook as well as picking up a foul. Well, they did win a penalty, and the man brought down Touristinis, and the man missing the penalty, Sartas. So the post-saving San Marino. Well, Greece didn't have to wait too long before they had another opportunity. Again, this lob hitting the crossbar, and a miraculous save by Benedettini from Maklas. Sarakatis was so close. Then the second goal, the free kick, a beauty from the substitute. Kostas Fareskos, 6 minutes from time, making the Greeks victory certain. It was a wonderfully curled free kick that gave the Greece side a very important 3 points. Scotland are next in a game that will go a long way to decide one of the places in Euro 96. But Fraseskos curling home the decisive second goal 6 minutes from time. Other results got booed. A large Spanish contingent then in Brussels for a very important Euro 96 qualifier between Belgium and Spain. These two sides, who've met in World Cup finals in their last two meetings in 1986 and 1990, know that the prize here at stake is a place in the Euro 96 in England next summer. 18 months' time then, the European Championships will be held in stadiums around England. Belgium, though, need a victory here against Spain, and this is their lineup, a real mixture of experience, and Prudhomme in goal with his back four, Giello, Albert, Cruyssen and Smith. It'd be interesting to see just where he plays. Danny Boffin and the captain, Frankie van der Elst, 68 caps, and he was the man who scored the decisive winning penalty when the sides met in the '86 World Cup. Lorenzo Stalin's only managed one goal for his country, and that was against Wales in 26 appearances. And Paul van Himst knows that this side are under great pressure following some disappointing performances so far. They began their campaign with a 2-0 win against Armenia. It wasn't impressive. Then lost to Denmark 3-1 and could only draw with Macedonia. Spain, this side entirely based around players who play in the Spanish league. All 11 starters involved. And certainly manager Javier Clemente, who began his career with a victory against England in September '92, knows that if his team can produce the goods here tonight, they'll have 4 wins from 4 games and be in a very strong position. Look out for number 10, Donato, who's scored on his debut. A Brazilian-born player, managed that 1 goal in his only game so far against Denmark. Well, since the win against Denmark, Clemente's side have played a friendly against Finland and won in Malaga by 2-0 with goals from Nadal and Goycochea. Paul van Himst there to the right of picture knows this is a big night for him as Spain get us underway in their change strip of blue, playing and attacking the goal to our right. A big occasion, a European night in Brussels, and certainly these two sides who've met on 15 previous occasions, going right back to the 1920 Olympics when Belgium beat Spain 2-1, know the significance of this one. Belgium won a 5-4 penalty shootout after a 1-1 draw in Puebla in Mexico in '86. And as I said, it was Frankie van der Elst who got the decisive penalty. Spain reversed that 2-1 in Verona in the 1990 World Cup. Only 2 survivors from the first meeting from Spain, Zubizarreta and Julio Salinas. So Belgium here making a fast start and trying to make an impression here on a Spanish side who are in good form, having won their last 4. Their form guide recently is a 2-1 win in Limassol in this group against Cyprus with 2 from Higuera. They won 2-0 in Macedonia with 2 goals from Julio Salinas, and 3-1 in Seville against Denmark before the Finland friendly. But Belgium here has started brightly, and Zubizarreta will know that he's in for a busy evening, I would think, here. He's broken the all-time Spanish cap record earlier this year when he won his 82nd cap. That was in October '93, now 95, and surely he will be on his way to 100 Spanish caps in the year of 1995. There can't be many teams that boast 11 players from the league of the country where they're playing in. As away come Belgium, and there's 2 in the centre, and a great chance here and a goal. And it's Mark de Greiser who got there. Starlins had made it all work, and Bertagno had found him, and here is Bertagno. Well, Starlins, I thought, was going to get there, and he miscued it, and de Greiser's finished it. After just 6 minutes, he gets his 21st goal in an international career. How will Spain react to being a goal behind? Certainly Michel Prudhomme, who's been involved in some big games this year for club and country, playing with Benfica, will know all about the big occasion. Spain will be looking to try and come forward. Here's the enigmatic Real Madrid's Luis Enrique. Still Luis Enrique, it's a fine run. Still Luis Enrique, oh, that was a good effort. I think he might have been going wide, but Prudhomme couldn't resist the opportunity. Luis Enrique has only scored twice for Spain. When he deceived Smits here, continued his run, and maybe Sergi might have got a flick header on that. Here's Nadal, and hoping to go all the way, but that was an ambitious effort. Certainly Spain coming back into the game. Philip Albert, who's really enjoying his football in Newcastle, and of course was involved in the Newcastle side that beat Antwerp early in Europe, coming to Belgium and winning 5-0, but losing to Bilbao in the second round, having given away a 3-goal lead in the first match. Good run there from Luis Enrique. Here he goes again, Luis Enrique. This is Hierro. Oh, nice turn. Still Hierro. And still Hierro. It's a great run. It's a brilliant finish. And Hierro has levelled things up here after 29 minutes. And he did it so well. What a fabulous bit of close control from Hierro. And he just kept on going. Well, Luis Enrique had the first shot. And Hierro, who played all 5 games for Spain in the World Cup, just kept on running. And that was a wonderful finish. And a deserved equaliser for Spain just before the half-hour mark. Well, that's his 8th goal for Spain, and he won't have scored many better. Paul van Himst there. Must be concerned at the way things are going, because Spain have really picked up the tempo. Belgium needs something badly. Now there's a break on here. And a chance here as well. He's drilled it wide. Well, Gilles de Bilder, maybe his inexperience told, they'd love that to have gone to De Greiser. It was a good opportunity this for de Bilder, but in only his 2nd international appearance, he hadn't got the nerve to knock it in. Boffin, and again Danny Boffin, well, it's important for him to enjoy these situations. De Bilder puts in a cross. Zubizarreta's out of position here. And Stalins comes in. And Hierro loses out. And that was Frankie van der Elst, who incidentally is no relation to the former West Ham player. Luis Enrique. Settled down from Guerrero. As the half-time whistle goes, certainly an enthralling first 45 minutes in Euro 96 qualifying action. Both sides will claim they could have been in front. In the end, though, De Greiser after 6 minutes and a substitution at half-time for Belgium. Verheiren comes on to replace Banyano. Let's rejoin the action. Well, was that outside the penalty area? And was it handball? The former for sure, the latter one would like to take a second look at. Well, an early piece of drama, and Sergi making no mistake. Well, let's have a look at it again. Always controversy, and here again, Zubizarreta, very lucky, I feel. Sergi. Ooh, that was a late challenge, but this one he got away with. Van der Elst was lucky here. There's 2 in the centre now as away come Spain again. Luis Enrique, he's teased them. Still Luis Enrique, it's a fine run from him. Still Luis Enrique, it's a great run. And now a chance, Albert, oh, that's on Guerrero. And that's a penalty. Ahmet Kakar, no doubt about that. It was Philippe Albert who came across Guerrero after a fine run from Luis Enrique. And so, it'll probably be Donato who will be given the opportunity. How he rued the fact that he wasn't on the field with an opportunity to win the Spanish Championship last year for his club, Deportivo. It was left to Jugoslav Djukic, who missed, but Donato is very much on the pitch now. And in his 2nd international, the Brazilian, who they say at his club is one of the coolest penalty takers you'll ever see. No power, just finesse. Well, if Prudhomme can psych him out, we shall see. So Donato, 31 years of age, scored on his debut against Denmark. Where will he place it? Or will he blast it? Oh, he's placed it magnificently. It's a 2nd goal for Spain. They lead here 11 minutes into the 2nd half. And now Belgium have big problems. Donato almost arrogantly sent Prudhomme the wrong way. Belgium 1, Spain 2. And now it's an uphill battle for the home side. Paul van Himst knows that this is going to be a very, very important half an hour. If his side are going to have a realistic chance of making it to Euro 96. Vermaelen, good chance for him. Well, the Bruges player was in the perfect position there. And he was at the far post, waiting. It was just the finish that let him down. Having got there, he'll feel surely he should have got a better contact in the ball. Zubizarreta then, with the clearance. Spain leading in Brussels here by 2-1 in a Euro 96 qualifier that they're now beginning to take control of. Although at 2-1 anything can still happen. Vermaelen, and that's Van der Elst. And he's getting booed from the home supporters. And that's a shame really from a player who's given so much to Belgian football over the years, and of course was the hero of the country when he knocked that penalty in against the Spaniards 8 years ago now. Great opportunity here, Salinas, he must score, it's 3-1. And Julio Salinas, in his 50th cap, grabs his 22nd goal, and that is a phenomenal strike rate from the player who changed clubs at the end of last season and who's had a fantastic last month. Well, Salinas here was given an opportunity that he was determined to make no mistake with under Prudhomme, and so Salinas, who's been in the news in Spanish football domestically because just a few weeks ago his late equaliser in stoppage time gave Deportivo a point at Barcelona, the club that he left last season. Goycochea coming on, and Salinas is coming off. Well, he's run his heart out, he's grabbed another goal. It's 22 in 50 for Salinas as Goycochea comes on into the frame. We've got 21 minutes to go. Sergi. Well, this is a fine performance now. Luis Enrique making a run. They're all queuing up. Will the flag stay down? Well, it might have got up, but it was an immediate impact from Goycochea. I can understand why he ran on, because had he played it inside, I think the linesman on this near side was waiting to raise the flag. So Goycochea went for glory. He went alone. Now, let's have a look. Yes, they would have been offside. Certainly the player to the left, Sergi, would have been. But it's these Spanish supporters who have made the trip to Brussels, and Javier Clemente must know now that his side are on their way to 3 very useful points, maximum points from 4 games. Here's Luis Enrique. Now there's a chance, and the flag stays down here. Great opportunity, fine save. Prudhomme denying Sergi. As the Spanish threaten to dominate. Schmitz. Well, they have taken complete control in this last 20 minutes or so, and Belgium do look a very poor side in comparison of what we've been used to from them. And there must be a lot of questions being asked from the home side at the moment. They're 3-1 behind, and it could so easily be more here. Sergi galloping away, and he was favourite, but Prudhomme denied him. Hierro. Oh, that's a great run. Luis Enrique, and out comes Donato this time. Luis Enrique was free on the right, and Donato made the run in the centre. If he passed to him, it was 4-1 for sure. Prudhomme denying him again. The running of Luis Enrique has been fantastic. This is Schmitz. Here's Krassen. Well, that's a fair pass as well. Zubizarreta, when your luck's going, reads the situation perfectly. Turkish referee Ahmet Kaka. As Belgium here find themselves overrun. Now Donato. Now Sergi. And now nobody in the centre. It was bad luck really. But this is Van der Elst, and he won't enjoy this experience. The Belgium captain. Many who feel this may even be his last international if it didn't run well. Now Belgium come forward again. Vermaelen, he's got plenty of chances. Over on the far side, Belgium only win a corner. Zubizarreta looks away. De Greiser had the major opportunity. Vermeulen looked sure to be on the end of it, but in the end it was put out of play for a corner. So can Belgium get a consolation here in the closing stages? And the header down, Vermeulen again. He was hoping to get on the end of it, but he didn't. So Belgium throwing down the gauntlet towards the end. It was Krassen's header. Vermeulen couldn't get there. Spain, though, thoroughly good value for their 3-1 lead. And Julio Salinas, Donato and Hierro, their scorers. And Luis Enrique makes the run. He's onside. Luis Enrique in the final minute makes it 4-1 for Spain. And now they have a very conclusive victory. It may not be a record because Spain won 5-0 in 1957. But a 4-1 win away from home will do very nicely indeed, thank you. Luis Enrique kept his nerve, beat Prudhomme, and Spain have the points, and they have a 4th goal. Great finish, and it typifies an excellent performance. No wonder the Spanish supporters are celebrating. We're into the time that the Turkish referee wants to add on for stoppages. There won't be so much of that, I wouldn't think. Well, a quick look at the watch. There it is, the final whistle. And a fine win for Spain. Extra special when you consider they were a goal behind. De Greiser putting Belgium in front after 6 minutes. Hierro with his 8th goal for his country, levelling on 29. Donato from the penalty spot after Albert found Guerrero, giving Spain a 2-1 lead after 56 minutes. Julio Salinas, he does it again in his 50th cap, getting his 22nd goal for his country.